Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Body Smart Vodcast. I am so excited to be here today. My name is Dr. Cameron Garber, and I am here with Shauna Cheshire from Mia Mama Fitness, right? Said that okay?
Yes.
Okay, I've been practicing, actually. And she is a registered nurse as well as a personal trainer who works with women throughout the pregnancy process, right? So
Right.
during pregnancy and postnatal, to help them stay fit and get healthy. So tell us a little bit more about your program and what you do to help people.
So I started Mia Mama Fitness about 5 years ago and really wanted to help give women who were anticipating a pregnancy or in a pregnancy or after a pregnancy kind of have that specialized care that they really do need, that the greater fitness industry hasn't really been really great at catering to. I really wanted to have some extra guidance that way in my own pregnancies and journeys through my 4 children. And so I tried to build something that I feel like I would have utilized had it been available for me. And so that's what I do, is I just help women understand what they can do with their bodies safely during pregnancy, which is usually a lot more than they think.
Yeah.
And they can actually get in really good shape and continue in really good shape throughout pregnancy usually. And that's really good news.
Right. No, that is great news. So many people feel like that's not the case, right? Like I shouldn't do too much, or maybe they've had, friends, family members that have been on bed rest or other things like that. So they feel like, I really should take it easy. How often do you feel like you kind of have to help people get over that kind of objection or that fear?
Well, quite a lot. Some have had, like you said, personal experience with other people, or maybe past pregnancies of their own, that they weren't okay to exercise, or there was a reason to be concerned. And so I want to make sure that I'm really clear that this is something you need to talk with a healthcare provider about. What level of activity are you safe to do in pregnancy? Right. But I would say, 90%, vast majority of pregnant women are not restricted.
Right.
And there is no medical reasons to restrict activity. So there are some really important, definite no's to do during pregnancy.
Sure.
And there's obviously a lot that isn't held within those no's.
Right.
So I think a lot of people just concentrate on what they can't do, like, I can't go downhill skiing while I'm pregnant, or I've been told after so many weeks I shouldn't go horseback riding, but there's so much you can do that we really should be encouraging moms to do more.
Right, exactly. And I think that's one of the things, if we get fit, beforehand, or if we're getting fit early enough, we can actually avoid a lot of those no's, right? We can avoid a lot of those situations that lead to, I can't do this, or maybe some of the horror stories or things that they've heard from other people. If we get fit early enough, then it's usually not as big of a problem. Is that?
Right. So preconception planning, if you're planning a pregnancy, there is no better time to get in good physical shape.
Right.
It's really the best time. But sometimes people will find themselves pregnant and didn't necessarily plan it.
Sure.
And that happens.
So
I think being told by healthcare professionals that you can safely continue doing whatever exercise you were doing previously is great if you were previously active.
Right.
But for a lot of women, they weren't previously active. So then in their mind, they're like, well, what does that mean? Do I just continue to be sedentary?
Right.
Or is going on walks around the block all that I'm allowed or okay to do?
Right.
And so if we can get some women as early in pregnancy as we can, yes, I've seen women who said through this past pregnancy, just walking around hurt. Being pregnant in the last month just hurt. And this pregnancy, I started exercising with you at 14 weeks or whatever it was. And we're doing lunges at 38 weeks.
That's so awesome.
And I'm feeling so great. I can't believe the difference in my body. So yeah, the sooner you start, the better. But there isn't really, I think if you're within a month of your due date, just go on walks. It's not a great time to initiate something really different, but as early as we can get you is great. And
absolutely.
And, yeah, it really does help.
No, and that's kind of what I've found as well in working with women, either as they just first found out that they got pregnant and wanted to have a healthier pregnancy, or for those that just had a baby. The earlier that we can intervene in both of those situations, the more success they tend to have. Becoming more and more sedentary is really easy to do through a pregnancy, because we do kind of give ourselves that excuse. Plus, it's the whole I'm eating for two, you know, some of those things that happen. And so we wind up letting our health go at a time when we really should be focusing on our health, maybe more than any other time.
Right.
Because you're not just affecting your health, you're affecting the health of your baby, right?
Right. And this is where it gets tough, because I never want to, like, poop over moms with mom guilt.
Right. No, there's too much of that
too
around.
much of mom guilt right now.
Absolutely.
But you really do have the power, a lot more power than you think, to impact the health of your pregnancy and your baby.
Right.
And there's some fantastic research talking about health through the lifespan for babies that are exposed to prenatal exercise.
That's awesome.
Versus those that didn't get that exposure, and they're finding quite a lot of differences as these children are growing. So the research is really exciting. So I hope women don't look at that and say, oh, well, with my first two babies I didn't exercise, I was a horrible mother. Like when we learn things, we adopt them, and we do our best as we get new information. And so I think it's really important to kind of balance everything out you hear. And for some women, exercise during pregnancy is extremely difficult because they feel sick the whole 9 months. For some, morning sickness never ends. Like there are certain people that would be really difficult to say, yeah, let's be active all the time. But I think focusing on those women who can do that is where I want to focus.
Right.
Because I totally understand from a medical perspective that we can't expect every mom to be working out 3 or 4 days a week the entire pregnancy. That's not necessarily going to happen for all women, but a lot more than it happens for right now. Right.
Well, and there's always something we can do to improve our health, and I agree with you. We don't want to beat anybody over the head with this or make people feel bad, because honestly that doesn't help. But there's always steps that we can take to improve our fitness and improve our health, and it's that we're doing as much as we can. And so that's such a great opportunity to intervene and find out for you and for your body kind of what's going to be the best game plan. And I think sometimes we try to do too much of it on our own.
Right.
And so meeting with somebody like Shauna would be a great way to help understand maybe more of what you can do, what's going to be safe for you, what can you do with maybe some of the medical things that you do have going on, or some of the things that you encountered in past pregnancies, so that you can have her help you understand those things and what you can do, even though you've had some of those conditions.
Yeah, I think one of my early clients had a C-section with her first baby. She didn't have any exercise in that pregnancy. She said she gained 50 or 60 pounds, which is really super easy to do.
Right, and very common.
Yeah. And she ended up needing a C-section after a trial of, I think, 24 hours of labor. She didn't progress.
Yeah.
She was induced, didn't progress. So that's what she had to do.
Right.
And, beautiful baby. But she was pregnant again a few years later and said, I really want a vaginal birth after cesarean.
Okay.
I don't want to do this the same way again. And
right.
She found a physician that was very VBAC friendly and felt like she was going to give her the chance to do this. But she told her, this has to be a different pregnancy. You need to manage yourself completely differently. You need to be working out. You need to be eating better. We need to limit excessive weight gain. That's the only way I think you stand a chance of being successful.
Yeah.
And she was able to get her VBAC. She went into labor spontaneously, had a 6 or 8 hour labor. I was so excited for her. And she said, you know what, I wouldn't have done this without you. Like, without you knowing that you were there expecting me to work out. Like this, exercise during pregnancy can be difficult, and it's sometimes a low motivation time for women. And so it's like to just go out there and independently do this can be really hard. Not that you can't, but it's not the typical.
Difficult.
It's not typical. And so she's like, without that appointment with you, without knowing that you had something planned for me, like, I don't know that I would have been able to do this on my own. And that was really gratifying to know I helped a mom get a birth experience that she wanted.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah. Because that's a tough time. Usually self-esteem's a little low. You don't feel well. Your body's changing in ways that it's like, oh my gosh, like this isn't flattering, this isn't fun, And so I get it, why exercise maybe gets put on the back burner, and why health in general gets put on the back burner. Cravings can be so strong and other things like that.
Right.
And so it just makes it hard. It's a difficult time. And so to have some accountability and really somebody in your corner, helping you out and giving you encouragement and telling you that it can be done, instead of everything else kind of telling you that it can't be done or giving you excuses of why it shouldn't be done or whatever.
Right.
It's nice to have somebody in your corner.
Right. And I think the biggest thing I like to tell moms is I think moms are great. I think moms are wonderful. Dads are great too.
Moms are better, let's face it.
But we tend to put off things thinking our time will come later.
Right. No, so true.
So once you have the baby here, now you have to actually take care of them.
Right.
And you're not sleeping still very well. And you think at some point my time for exercise will arrive and it'll just appear, and then I'm going to do it and I'm going to get in shape. But what we know through the research is women who are able to adopt exercise during pregnancy and postpartum periods of their life are actually much better set up to have low chronic disease going into through the lifespan, because they have made it a priority for that self-care instead of waiting around for an opportunity to just bump them on the head, because it never happens.
It never does. Well, and I can't tell you how many people in my practice that I see in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that have had 2 to 4 children or more, that come to me and say, well, it all kind of started back when I started having kids, and I gained 40 pounds with the first one, and then I really tried hard and blah 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 blah, but I still wound up gaining that, and then I gained by my last one I gained 80 pounds, and I just never lost that 80 pounds.
Yeah, the rolling weight gain is very common, and it's hard. I think I really hate the whole get my body back, because I'm like, actually it never went anywhere. It's still yours.
Right. No, it's so true.
It's like,
so true.
Yeah. So, but to recover a previous pre-pregnancy condition between pregnancies isn't always successful for everybody. In fact, oftentimes you just kind of roll over a few pounds into every pregnancy.
Right.
And so by the time you're done having children, you're carrying an extra 20, 30, 40 pounds or more.
Right.
And it all did kind of begin in the childbearing years.
Right.
And so, anything we can do to kind of interrupt that and help women reestablish to be in their best shape they can be before another pregnancy happens is setting her up for much better health than her babies.
Right. Oh, very, very much so. And to your point of, starting that kind of consistency, starting that pattern in their lifestyle early on. So as early as we can in that process, that's going to help people avoid a lot of the frustrations and the fad diets and the, yo-yoing and things that we see, so that when they get into their 50s and 60s, when a lot of those health factors start becoming high risks, right?
Chronic disease rates.
So most of those things don't necessarily affect us as much in our 20s, 30s, and even early 40s, but as we kind of get into our 50s, 60s, all those things really catch up. And I see people in my clinic all the time that's when they finally decide to make a change. And it's not bad. It's a good thing to make that change, but at the same time, every time I hear their stories that are sometimes really sad of just years of feeling bad about themselves and years of trying this. I mean, one of the saddest things is when I hear I've tried everything. And that's so discouraging, because what that really means is I feel like I failed at so many things, right? And I want to help people to not get into that place in the first place. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to help people become body smart, is so that they can avoid that in the first place. And I think what you're doing is so in line with that helping intervene at an early stage before people get to that and before they've tried and quote unquote failed so many different things. If we can help them be successful in the first place early on and learn healthier patterns, we can really make a difference in the whole trajectory of their life and their health.
Well, and I mean, speaking from a mother, we're talking about modeling to our children.
Oh, huge.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, if your kids can see you doing active, exercising things, as they grow, it changes how they perceive exercise.
Right.
It's not viewed as a negative. It's viewed as something healthy that we do to keep ourselves strong and healthy. And because adopting exercise as an adult is really hard.
It's really tough.
If you've set patterns where I'm used to exerting myself, this actually helps me feel better. But for some people, they have to rail against this resistance that their body has to have exercise feel good.
Right.
They have to work on that for a long time before they start seeing like, oh, okay, so this endorphin thing people talk about, I think I'm finally getting that.
Right.
Like, I feel like I could actually really maybe want to do this instead
At
of
some
being
point,
like,
yeah.
I have to do this.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And that's a huge thing. If we can make fitness part of our lifestyle instead of this punishment for bad eating,
Right.
Then it really is a rewarding thing. I like to help people think of fitness being our way of preserving our ability to do the things we love to do, our ability to parent the way we want to parent, our ability to care for our children, care for our grandchildren eventually, and do so on our terms. That if I want to go on a hike, if I want to tie my grandkids' shoes,
Get down there.
Right, I can actually get down there and do it. And those are real concerns that I hear all the time from people that didn't just get there overnight, right? And so establishing these patterns early in life, modeling that for our children, which I think is huge. That really is the main intervention. I'm actually hoping to present next year at our American Physical Therapy Association meeting to a pediatric group about that exact topic of nutrition, weight management, and just health topics in general, modeling that for children at early ages so that they can lead a healthy lifestyle. Oh, that's so huge, so important.
It's like almost as great as like teaching them a second language, that they just grow up knowing it. Kids that grow up bilingual, like I never remember having to learn this other language. It's just part of what I grew up with. So if like we can kind of instill that in children young, it's never going to be this foreign idea that I have to force into my life because someone says it's good for me or I should do it. They just naturally have it there.
Exactly. It's I want to be able to play sports, or I want to be able to hike or bike or swim, or go on vacation and not worry about what I look like in my swimsuit. Those types of things. And if you can teach your kids like we work out so that we can do all those things. And have that be the mentality instead of, well, we work out because I eat crappy, right? Like,
and I'm really trying to like tell my children too, like the beauty that is the human body is in its function.
Right.
I mean, I think in our society right now, it's very much about the form, what it looks like, how are we going to sculpt it to look this way or that way, because this is what's good, this is what looks good or not. But what I find much more empowering for my own goals and what I do with fitness and exercise is more about showing myself what my body's capable of doing. What can I do with this body of mine? And I think that's a much healthier way to look at our bodies than just training or restricting or doing whatever we do so we can fit a certain mold.
Right.
So.
That's one of the ultimate litmus tests, I think, of health is being able to ask yourself, can I do really anything that I would want to do physically? If somebody came and asked me, hey, you want to go climb this mountain, or do you want to go and do this or that? Could I do that at a moment's notice? And if you can, then your health is doing pretty good. If you can't, if somebody said, hey, let's go hike Kings Peak, and you're feeling like, ew, I don't know if I could do that.
I don't know if I'll make it.
Right, then maybe there's some things we need to change, right? And so I think that's a great way of thinking about it, more about the function of my body instead of what do I look like? Because pounds on the scale really aren't very motivating. If that was motivating, we'd have a lot more fit people out there, right? But pounds on the scale tends to be more discouraging than anything, because you can, gain 4 or 5 pounds in a weekend just on a family party or whatever. And so if we go just based on that, it can be really discouraging really quickly. And so we really need to think about more of those long-term health things, and it begins often. Well, it really does begin with pregnancy, because we can start our child off with a healthy pregnancy.
Yes.
So there we go.
Yeah.
And so I'm so excited to be here with Shauna from Mia Mama Fitness. And so, as we talk, and that's kind of how we formed this alliance in the first place, we started talking about some of these health and fitness things, and we just have a lot of things where we're very much in line, the same kind of mentality of you don't have to kill yourself off to get fit. It doesn't have to be about image. It should be more about health and what I can do and what all that fitness means about my body. And so we decided to kind of shoot this episode for one, to explain more about it and to introduce Shauna to my audience here. So super excited to be able to introduce her to you guys. So we also have decided to do a workshop. So on April 25th, we are going to do a workshop where we're going to talk more about this kind of stuff, where we're going to talk about all the things that are kind of roadblocks to our fitness and health, especially fitness and health related to pregnancy. And so we want to help be able to empower you to know what you need to know and do what you need to do, strategies for overcoming all of those different roadblocks to health and fitness and having a healthy pregnancy. And so,
Right.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about what you're going to be speaking about on the 25th.
So we're going to kind of bust some myths,
Yeah.
debunk a lot of stuff that you've probably heard, give you really sound scientific information about what we're actually seeing through studies.
Perfect.
Which is what I always really like to show women and anyone actually who will listen to me.
You're right. Yeah.
And say, this is
I
what
feel
the
you.
data is showing. This is
Right.
what the data is showing us. And so I know what your grandma's telling you and what your mom's telling you, but this is what the data is showing. So we can talk about what that's showing. And I think that's really exciting. And then talk about, well, how can we make our lives fit in these things that are
Right.
going to help this pregnancy go better? How can I feel good and confident and happy because I'm not so physically uncomfortable, not
Perfect.
having so many aches and pains? I feel prepared for labor and birth because labor and birth are often, I think, quite demanding. For I think the average person,
Definitely.
metabolically very like an endurance athletic event. So it's really important that you understand that you'll feel much better going through that process and in the recovery if you prepared your body to go through it, just like
Perfect.
any kind of athletic event would be. So we're going to kind of talk about that and
Awesome.
give you some practical things you can do on your own, give you some information about how you can interact with me or get in touch with me if you want any of my help
Yeah.
or one-on-one. So that's kind of what we'll do with me.
Awesome. So I'm so excited about it. I really am pumped. So that's coming up April 25th at 6:30. I'll also be there. I'll do a little demonstration about the metabolic testing, especially that resting metabolic test. That's super effective to do during pregnancy, so you know how many calories you should be eating so that we can make sure things are on point for that nutritional piece. And yeah, we'll talk more about how to manage that healthy pregnancy. And I'm so excited about that. So again, April 25th, so in a few weeks, 6:30 p.m. here at Body Smart. If you'd like to be part of that, just say I'm in and we'll make sure to get you all of the information. We're going to do a Facebook event, and so make sure you see that invite and you sign up through that. Super excited again to be able to be part of this. Really just glad that I can introduce Shauna to my people here with the Body Smart Vodcast. Let us know if you have any more questions about that, though. Thanks again for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.